All right.
Okay, our speaker tonight is Deepa. I'm not going to say her name correctly. Chordia? Chordia. I mostly see Deepa in email.
Exactly.
Because she's one of the powerful leaders of Life ElderCare, and I happen to manage their website, so we communicate a lot on that. And I think everybody knows Life ElderCare does some amazing work providing services for our seniors in the community, including Meals on Wheels and friendly visitors and assistance with getting to where they need to be, and programs helping people improve their situation to avoid falling, basically, at home. And I will let her describe that in more detail. But it's been a long-standing organization that has done great work in our community for eons.
Thank you very much, Lisa. I appreciate the introduction and having the time to just speak to you for a few minutes about Life ElderCare and the work that we do. I'm going to start off with a quick video. It really provides a high-level overview of the services that we provide and kind of our approach to serving seniors. And then I'll just walk through a few slides very quickly. So let me share my screen. All right, are you guys able to see it?
Indeed, yes.
Okay, perfect. So
we are all aging, and America is aging fast. By 2030, 1 in 5 Americans will be age 65 or older. By 2035, the U.S. will have more older adults than children for the first time ever. An AARP study found that most of us wish to age in our own homes and communities. These places are familiar, we can make our own decisions, and it's a lot more affordable. But health or mobility challenges can sometimes make it hard to age at home. Cooking and buying groceries becomes harder. The risk of a bad fall increases, and isolation can cause vulnerability and loneliness. But a little bit of support can make a big difference. Older adults in Alameda County can count on Life ElderCare to connect them with the resources they need. Life ElderCare provides in-home fall prevention, friendly visitors, home-delivered meals, and assisted transportation, as well as care coordination when other help is needed. Our services keep seniors engaged with their community and optimize the opportunity for well-being while keeping public costs down. Life enables older adults to live in their homes with as much health and connection as possible. It takes a lot of resources to ensure positive outcomes for the growing number of seniors in need. Each of us can contribute to this good work by volunteering a few hours a month, making a donation, or spreading the word to those who might need our support. Because we're all aging together. Join us at lifeeldercare.org, 510-894-0370.
okay. So basically, we serve seniors that are located anywhere in Alameda County. They come to us in various ways. Some of them are living at home and they realize they just need a little bit of extra support. Maybe they're having trouble cooking. They might have been facing an illness or injury. They can get in touch with us directly, or a concerned family member, friend, or neighbor can call in, or partner organizations that also work with seniors can call somebody in that's a good fit for Life ElderCare services. What we do when a senior comes to us is we do a full assessment. We really look at sort of their whole context and identify first what their most urgent needs are, things that need attention right away. It could be, start to get them on Meals on Wheels and start delivering food. It could be that they need utilities assistance. But then we also look at what their long-term goals are, and we look for ways to partner with them and introduce ways for them to be able to incorporate and work towards that goal. So it could be that they're looking to optimize their health through better nutrition, or they're looking to make their home safer as they're aging. So we work with them and help them with that. So our basic eligibility is if a senior is over the age of 60, living in Alameda County, and still living in an independent setting, such as an apartment, mobile home, affordable housing complex, house, anything like that. We don't ask anything about immigration status. In some cases, we can help people that are younger than the age of 60 if they have certain disabilities. And so that's things like they could be eligible for Meals on Wheels, or they could be eligible for our assisted transportation program that helps individuals get to the doctor and out to get groceries. We don't require low income status, but we do prioritize that for some programs. And finally, you know, the main message we want to get out is we're basically a one-door service organization. If an elder is out there and they need support and they don't know where to turn, they can call us and we'll figure out how to help them. And we do that in one of two ways, either directly through the services that we provide, and we actually provide a whole range of different services. So as Lisa mentioned, we deliver Meals on Wheels to seniors in the Tri-City area, so Fremont, Union City, and Newark. They have a variety of options to choose from, depending on their medical conditions, whether they're vegetarian, et cetera. We provide door-through-door transportation, where our doctors actually help seniors from their homes to get to the doctor's office, grocery store, help them at their destination, and then make sure they're safely back home again. We provide friendly visitors and phone reassurance for those that are isolated and they just want someone to check in on them. We can do care coordination. We work with partners throughout the county, and we really look to connect people with resources. Also under the banner of our Health Forward or Fall Prevention Program, we provided a variety of additional services, a medication review, home assessments, we can help with home modifications, and we basically offer collaborative discussions to enable seniors to make changes and make decisions that will optimize their health as they age. So the things that we can't provide directly, what we do is look to connect those seniors with partner organizations within the county. Life fills gaps. We don't look to duplicate services. So if someone comes to us and they need a service that's already provided, we'll do what's called a warm handoff, and we make sure that they're connected with that partner agency that can help them and provide them with the support that they need. Oh, sorry. So basically, like in a nutshell, if you look at it, we basically work from like the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And we look to see what we can do to make sure that seniors are connected with good nutrition, with reliable transportation, with connection with others, and with knowledge. And I mean, we lay out sort of what the benefits are, but at the end of the day, if, you know, by having access to all of these things, it can help seniors stay housed, reduce costs, stave off hospitalization and the need for long-term care. So they can stay in their homes for as long as possible. One thing I wanted to ask for your help is to help us get the word out. You know, now that things are reopening, we're serving more seniors than ever with all of our programs. And we're, you know, we really need more volunteers to help us be able to, you know, meet this expanded need. So, you know, we've got opportunities to deliver Meals on Wheels if you're available during the day. We have, you know, volunteer drivers. You can choose what area, and this is throughout the county, you can choose whatever rides work for your schedule. It's generally within a 2-hour window. Or you can be a friendly visitor, and that has the most flexibility because you basically just meet with your senior during a time that works for both of you. And then we have other ways to get involved as well. So if you have questions or, you know, you want to learn more about this, please do feel free to get in touch with me. So just one thing to underscore, all of the services that we provide free of charge. There's no cost to the clients. They're welcome to donate back to their programs, and we gratefully accept those, but there's no requirement to do so. So again, we just, you know, we've been in the community since 1975, and we're just, you know, excited to be a part of this group and excited to be able to, you know, work with you all to spread the word and to hopefully reach more seniors in need and some, you know, volunteers that are looking to get involved. Thank you very much. You're muted.
Kathy, you're muted.
Hey. Go figure. Thank you, Deepa. Glad you're here tonight. That was quick, down and dirty, but with details.
I tried. Normally this presentation, it takes me much longer. But if you guys have any questions, I'll put my information in the chat window as well. Feel free to reach out anytime and I'd be happy to talk more.
Sounds good. Very good.
Thank you.
I think next we will go on to our guest speaker today, Geneva, and I've got 2 different little bios for her. I've got one bio from our website that says, Geneva's long history with the Fremont Police Department includes activities in community engagement, social media public relations, public information officer, media relations, police department website management, citizen patrol volunteer program management, and more. Geneva was the driving force behind the 2004 overhaul of the citywide permit program, resulting in positive relationships built with both business and nonprofit community. Then, if we look at her LinkedIn profile, she is an experienced public affairs manager with a demonstrated history of working with public relations and communications industry, skilled in law enforcement, energy management, community engagement, policy analysis, and organizational development, strong media and communication professional with an MA focused in leadership from St. Mary's College in California. So with that, Geneva, welcome.
Well, thank you. And thank you again for having me today. I really enjoyed that last overview of Life Elder Care and may reach out. So again, really appreciate being here. And I'm really happy to have the opportunity to talk about special events. I have been involved with special events for about 15, 16 years with the city. I've gone through a couple of ordinance revisions. And while I don't actually manage the permit process itself, I'm not the hands-on, I do oversee and I do help to kind of navigate through different scenarios that come up, and I liaison directly with the city manager, who ultimately has authority for signing special event permits. So I just want to give, I guess, a really high level overview, and I may actually share my screen because I do think that we actually have a lot of information on our website that will answer a lot of questions that, that you might have today, and it gives a really good overview. But I want to start by just saying that the city ordinance for special events allows private properties to change their use. And so that's really why a special event permit is required. All properties in Fremont are zoned. And so we have residential zoning, we have commercial zoning. What the special event permit does is it allows us to change that zoning for a temporary period of time. So examples are if you want to use a commercial properties parking lot for an annual sale, for example. So we're changing the use from a parking lot to now some type of commercial activity, or we're using a school parking lot and bringing in food trucks. Or we're having a large gathering at a city facility that requires a permit. Those are all the reasons why a special event permit might be required. So any type of organized activity that falls outside of like free speech, that falls outside the intended use of the property, it uses vendors, we construct tents or canopies, it might require an ABC license, or it shuts down streets, utilizes a city park. You know, if you have more than 25 people wanting to engage in an organized activity in a park or a plaza, those are all the times that a special event permit is required. We do exemptions for special event permits, as I kind of touched upon, would be like First Amendment free speech activity. So you might see from time to time, large groups are gathering standing at the corner of Stevenson and Fremont near the Unity Rings, for example. Or another really common place is the Veterans Memorial Park at the courthouse. You might see kind of organically organized groups there who wish to you know, have a free speech activity. We had a rally a few weeks ago. It was like a United Against Hate rally. Those would fall under our free speech kind of, you know, exemptions that don't necessarily require a permit. Now, if they were going to construct seating or stages, then we get into like building permits and things like that might be required. But generally, free speech activity on public property without constructing and placing a lot of, you know, porta potties and things like that, those would be allowed without a permit. And we always help navigate through all of these types of scenarios with groups, and we can often help groups, you know, if they want to have free speech and they don't want to permit, we can really help facilitate and share with groups and organizations of how to do that, and, you know, so that they don't fall into that category of needing a special event permit. So I'm going to go, let's see if I can share my screen and this comes up. Can you guys see this right here? Is my screen? We have an infographic. Well, first I should start by saying we have a dedicated web page to special events. And within our special event permit section, we have an overview of the process, we have our applications, we have information on our sponsorship program, and we also have resources that include, I'll share with you what's in there, but there's banner guidelines, ABC licenses, we have information on fees. But I thought I would at least start with this just to show the application process. Because this is oftentimes the first question that groups and organizations have is, how do I apply for a permit? What's the timeline? And so we have this infographic that kind of goes through the different steps. There's the submittal of the application. And I believe our ordinance says that staff then has 10 days to review the application and at least get back
Okay, is it just me or are we having a technical difficulty?
I think Geneva froze and then she dropped off. So hopefully she's coming back.
Okay. Yeah, I wondered if it was just me or not, so thank you.
I thought my computer broke.
That's the first time for everything, first time that happened, so hey.
I hope she can come back.
She likely will.
There she is.
Perfect.
Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah,
Yes.
I'm back. Sorry, I had everyone in my house get off their wireless, but it seems like I'm still having issues, so I apologize for that. Did I leave off by saying, hopefully, in the process, we do a 10-day evaluation to figure out, if we can move forward or not. Following that evaluation, we would then take a look at your event and provide conditions. And there's differences between what we call kind of our low impact events and high impact events. And then the final plan and conditions are submitted, and then the event happens and a permit is issued. For our lower impact events, so we have 5 different types of events. We have 5 categories. They range from a small block party of you and your neighbors wanting to get together for National Night Out. You want to close off your road. It's not a major road. It's a cul-de-sac. It kind of meets the guidelines transportation engineering signs off. Very simple permit. And all the way up to our large scale permits, that is like our class 5, where we have an ongoing activity that exceeds 500 people, and it also exceeds a single weekend, for example. So our farmers markets, for example, those that occur once a week, those are sort of the big category 5. And then we have a number of categories in between 2, 3, and 4. They have to do with the number of attendance that we have a threshold of 500 or events with under 500. We have under 500 requiring city services. So for example, a road closure, and then we have over 500 requiring city services, such as like the Festival of Arts or the 4th of July parade. The larger events, any event that requires city services. So if we're closing a road, we need paramedics for a parade. We have road closures needing maintenance staff. or we have public safety needs, especially those that have alcohol, for example, those submissions need to be in 90 days in advance. So those large scale events, we need about 90 days to prepare for those events as a city. Smaller events, our class 1, 2, and 3 without city services is a 30-day submittal. We do though ask if you have a large scale event. So if you were thinking that you were going to put on an event that had a similar scale to any of our current big ones, so a parade, a festival of arts, festival of India, any of those, we actually ask that you start working with us about 6 months in advance, because sometimes 90 days isn't necessarily enough time to get things in place, especially road closures. And one of the key components I'll just mention is that when our staff makes an assessment, it's based on the information that you provide. And oftentimes, if it's a new event, things change. And so we have to be working with you along the way so that we're constantly changing our staffing models based on your current event planning. Additionally, I can share from the police department, they have to post overtime slots 30 days in advance. We can't order in officers less than 30 days in advance. Additionally, if you're a new event and you're going to close a road, or you're an existing event and you decide to change the location of your event. So our bicycle race was a good example, or our bicycle event used to be held in the Ardenwood area. They had used the same traffic route plan for years. The event moved to the south end of town because of some conflicts with businesses. Well, when they moved to the south end, a new traffic route plan was required, and that requires a third-party engineer to draw up those plans. And so you do have to build in this extra time. Additionally, ABC licenses, you have to submit your application 30 days in advance with ABC. It means going, up to Oakland to submit that. And oftentimes any event that has food requires a health permit. So I know that's a lot of kind of information on the front end. And I did just want to share, I'm hoping that this goes back and you can still see my screen. Can you guys see my screen now where it says special event permit? So this is the main page when you come to our special event permit. And if you go to fremont.gov/special-event-permit, that gets you to this page. But we have information right on the front about COVID-19, just because over this last year, we have not been able to permit events. We've really been waiting for June 15th of this year to really have a good understanding of what is going to be permitted in the state of California. And right now, I think we have a good sense of what that's going to look like. We know that indoor events that exceed 5,000 people, which I do not believe Fremont has any venues of that size and scale, will require either a negative COVID test or proof of vaccines. However, outdoor events of large scale, it is a recommendation, but not a requirement. And that's the early information that we have right now. We do believe that all of the events that normally take place in Fremont will be able to happen throughout the remainder of this year. But again, until June 15th gets here, we can't technically permit any of these events. And we're also starting to see a little bit of a flood of activity because most event organizers are now kind of adjusting their dates. Events that normally happened in the spring are now being pushed to October. And so our staff is, seeing a flurry of activity. Many events we had one event application come in 2 weeks ago wanting an event this week. And we're trying to make it all happen because we do recognize that this COVID has caused complexities. And a lot of organizations, financially rely upon these events to happen. So we're trying to do our best this year. I do believe by next year, we'll be back on track with, our normal practices. And we're doing our best to work with the event organizers this year. Up until now, really all we've been able to do is allow vehicle-based gatherings. which we have had quite a few. And we did, of course, have our pop-up pilot program. And we again anticipate that activities will begin. So this website, though, it goes right into detail as to when a special event permit is needed. So this is a great starting point. It gives information about the exceptions that we talked about earlier about gatherings, protests, political activities. On this page is information about the different classes that I briefly mentioned, going from a block party to a series of events like a farmer's market. Our application due date is stated right here that we need, ongoing large event applications 90 days in advance and 30 days in advance for the smaller. There is a late fee of $10 per business day if we don't receive these applications by the deadlines. And we also have a due date chart that is really helpful that was added to our website a year or two ago. And you can go right to the date of your event and it will tell you the day that your application is needed. And then we also have information about our special event sponsorship program. There's a little bit of different, there's some contact information here. That's really kind of what the front page highlights. The overview of the process is the infographic. I'm going to skip sponsorship, but I do want to show you our resources page, just that you can go to this resources page to read our ordinance. If you're curious about what the city's ordinance states specifically, some conditions are right in the ordinance, but most of the city's conditions will follow, fire codes, building codes, traffic laws. We have information on banners. Some events choose to hang banners for events. That is an allowable use of our banner poles. We have some in a couple of the different districts of Fremont, including the downtown. The ABC license is on here. We also have outdoor cooking guidelines that our fire department provides. There's guidelines for parade floats, insurance requirements, etc. There's just everything here is, what we provide. And if you do have a road closure, we even provide a vendor list of engineers and companies where you can go get that traffic plan. We have information on stages and tents do require separate permits outside the special event. They're building permits. There's a threshold on the size and scale. And then we also have some reference documents and environmental service requirements that are right in here as well. So we have quite a bit of information and resources on our website. If you're thinking about holding an event, I would definitely recommend going to the website first. We have information on the fees. Permits range from $50 to $250. We haven't changed that in a really long time and have no immediate plans to do so. The last component I wanted to talk about is our special event sponsorship program. This program went into place in 2019. Prior to 2019, the city was offsetting some of the city service costs for events. Back in 2008, I believe, or 2009, we set flat fees for the basic hourly rates of staff. And over about a 10-year period, we didn't increase that. However, the staff had received, some slight increases over the years, and we found that we were really out of balance. And the police department also had a cost sharing model that started to also get a little complicated. There was a cost sharing of the first $5,000 and then $25,000 off everything over that. And so in 2019, we took a look at the events that qualified. And again, these are events that require the use of city services. And we found that we were spending about $250,000 annually helping to supplement special events. At the same time, where we were starting to receive new requests from nonprofits that were holding events for additional sponsorship. And so council directed our staff to take a look at sponsorship programs throughout the state. best practices, different models, and we came up with our own program that council adopted in 2019. We tried to implement it last year. It would normally kick off in January or February of each year. However, due to COVID, we had to cancel everything. This year, we did open up the sponsorship back just a month ago. I believe it opened in May. We had a very short turnaround of 2 weeks. And that was because we had to get it before council the same night as the budget. And so our sponsorship program will go before council next Tuesday evening for approval. And that is really because it's tied to the city's budget and what council approves in our budget annually to sponsor events. So the city is recommending, again, $250,000 in our budget, and staff is making a recommendation to help supplement the cost for city services across the events that applied. So I think we had 6 or 7 submissions. We had a couple events that didn't apply, but we anticipate that they will apply next year. And again,
Not Geneva's night.
Okay, so it's not just me. Well, I hope she comes back so that we can have some Q&A. Okay. So we'll wait for her to log back in so we can have some questions and answers, I'm sure. I have some.
I just wanted to say, I thought the website is very self-explanatory too. Fremont has a very nice website.
It seems to be getting better and better as time goes on. I've got one of our Glenmore neighbors who always finds everything. He digs, I don't know how he finds this stuff, but he always finds anything. Doesn't matter if it's now, 15 years ago, he finds it.
I have to ask, is that the Gaff family?
Yeah. Yeah. Always finds it, always finds it. And I'm like, gosh, he's good. He's a good researcher. I hope she comes back. And Lisa, are you set to go with our raffle for when we're ready to do that? You're already geared up?
I am. I was trying to see if I could find a cell phone number for her to text her.
Oh.
Yeah, you can't find those on the city website.
No.
Maybe not.
I don't know. Did you try emailing her?
We can. That's not going to be very fast.
Yeah, I'll just in
Yeah.
case.
All right. I'll email her.
Oh, here we go. She's calling back in, I bet.
Okay.
Is that Geneva?
That's me. Can you guys hear me now?
Indeed, yes.
I'm so sorry. I just lost everything on my computer, but I'm just going to stay on the phone. I think I'm through sharing my screen. And I was just saying, Kathy, that, we recognize that the 4th of July parade is very quickly after the beginning of the fiscal year. And again, the way that the sponsorship program was designed was to coincide with council approving the money in the fiscal year's budget. And so right now, the funding has to come out of the budget that begins July 1. But we also recognize that it doesn't give an event like 4th of July adequate time to prepare. And with, only having 2 weeks to know if council has approved the funding and even to know what we're approving in our budget is a bit challenging. So we did have some conversations just this week around what we might try to do with our finance director moving forward. So if there's something that we can do to kind of tweak this or modify it, you know, possibly on a calendar year, and finance can help us make it, we might try to make that shift for next year.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, so I will end it there. I hope that I provided, you know, a good overview, and I'm happy to take any questions that anyone might have.
Okay, let's go on to that. I was hoping that you were going to be able to come back on for questions. Are there any questions that anyone has?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Have you gotten any temperature readings from the county regarding food permits?
We were told, I think, a week ago that they wouldn't be issuing any, but we think that's just until the 15th. But until the 15th comes, we're not 100% sure. We're also not sure about ABC, although I do feel like ABC is starting to relax some of their kind of traditional, you know, rules. So we think that they will allow it. We're definitely seeing activities in other areas where farmers markets are expanding, and we believe that they will, but right this second, or as of a week ago, they were not.
Okay, so everybody just inundate Alameda County on June 16th if you're looking for their permit. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And I'm very glad to hear that the staff is talking about the 4th of July, because just that timeline on it is so incredibly tight. And I did jump on the city council meeting this week to say if there's some consideration, and I know you have fiscal years that don't match doesn't match with everything going on, and that's no fault of the city. But if there's something creatively that they can come up with, so that, you know, somebody can know more than 2 weeks before the event that if they have that special event sponsorship, that's just awesome to hear you say that it's being talked about.
Yeah, and we will definitely have this conversation just to see if finance has any ideas of what we might do, because our budget cycle does run on the fiscal year. I will say though that back in January of this year, you know, we weren't sure if we were receiving federal funding. And so there was some talk at the beginning of the year that if the city was not going to receive federal funding, that we may have a pretty significant budget shortfall. And that could, you know, include sponsorship of special events. And so it really is on a year-by-year basis. We could see the amount fluctuate slightly each year. So it's not a 100% guarantee, but I do know that our council is very supportive and will continue to try to support special events as best they can. And that's also why we're trying to keep our focus really on kind of offsetting the cost of city services as we have in the past. And it was really nice to see this year that we were able to, you know, recommend the $250,000, because we do also think that event organizers are going to have some challenges, especially those that are trying to put events on very quickly after June 15th, of raising funds and getting sponsorships this year. I think it's going to be a little bit more challenging.
Well, yeah, and that being said, which I was thinking with the 4th of July in particular, so many events, people, you know, the Olive Festival, there's so many things that people look forward to, and it's part of the culture of the city, and it's part of the connectivity of the community, and it's what so many of us need now. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but you know, so many of us need that connectivity to feel mentally healthy and happy again. And I do have a question actually about when you talked about Geneva, the 6 months time of working together beforehand, and I'm wondering So is that time charged? Is that part of the city fees meeting when we're meeting with the city and we're going over things? Is that time that is charged for as well?
No, no. We don't really make any revenue off special events. Again, the permit fee is between $50 and $250, and we do not charge for our time. In fact, even the day of a special event, there are a lot of staffing charges that are just simply not charged to an event organizer. The big events are really great examples where you might have a battalion chief from fire, and also a police lieutenant who are the incident commanders, and we do not charge for, staff time for them. They're managers, salaried. They don't receive overtime. And so there's quite a few, normally our permit centers, they really do charge based on hours. There may be some inspection fees the day of if you have a large scale stage or a major canopy, but other than that, those times are not charged to the event organizer.
Okay, thank you. Were there any other questions or thoughts for Geneva? Anything you needed her to take back to her staff? Or
I have a question. So there's a list of categories. A special event permit is needed when, and the first one says an organized activity on private property. And the question is, if somebody was having, let's say, a private, hypothetically speaking, now, I'm not saying this is me, but if somebody was having a private party at their house and got a food truck to do the food, so the food truck would be like parked out in front of the house, do they need a permit for that?
Yeah, technically the food truck, yeah, the answer is yes. Technically even residential, like concerts, we do see that from time to time. We've also seen residents just shut down their own street and have a concert in the street. All of that would technically require a permit because, especially if you're charging, at your residence, that's really not within the residential zoning. And food trucks have their own, we do have a vendor ordinance that just slightly changed. There's a lot of information in that new vendor ordinance for food trucks. But they have their own requirements for having solicitors' licenses, and there's restrictions on their activities. So the answer is yes, although we do know it happens, and we don't have a strong enforcement arm that's out looking for these, unless it becomes kind of a reoccurrence and an ongoing problem. I can give you another example. We have a large manufacturer in the city, and they have wanted to host employee parties. However, the manufacturing site is really intended to manufacture a product. It wasn't built with assembly permits in place. An assembly permit is required when you have over 49 people in a space, and they want to have an employee party. They want to bring in caterers. They might want live entertainment. So we have even used the special event permit to allow a large manufacturer to host an event indoors. We've also allowed it a couple times for banquet halls to sell tickets or do an activity that's slightly outside of their zoning. Although that's not as typical as closing down a parking lot for a fair or an activity, or shutting down roads, or having concerts in a plaza, for example.
This is, okay, I'm perfectly willing to get a permit. My son got married during COVID time, so it was just the two of them and the person doing the wedding. And we're gonna have a party in our backyard, and we were thinking about getting a taco truck instead of a caterer. And so it would be a private party. Nobody's buying from the food truck out in the street. So, but I could imagine that if I need a permit, I need a permit.
Yeah. And the food truck may be able to get the permit too through the vending. Your wedding in the backyard is probably okay, especially if what we tell people from the police department's kind of putting on that hat. If you're going to have a party in your backyard for a birthday, you have a small wedding, your backyard accommodates that, you're going to have loud music. We just say to be a good neighbor, abide by you know, a 10 or 10:30 cutoff. We do have a new noise ordinance in Fremont. And so we ask, you know, turn down your music and also just do a notification to all your neighbors.
Our neighbors live right, so.
Yeah, that's the best. That's great advice. But yeah, the food truck parking in front of a residence. I don't recall what the vending ordinance says, but I don't know that that is technically allowed. So
Even if
a
you're
permit
just
would
hiring
be
them as a
required.
caterer?
Yeah, if they're vending from the roadway, and you're using the public sidewalk, yeah. And again, I don't have the vending ordinance in front of me. I'd be happy to send it to you. But again, I am aware of, you know, food trucks that show up for parties. And again, as I mentioned, we don't have a strong, you know, regulatory group going out looking for this activity. And we generally don't receive a lot of complaints.